Hi, my name is Ashley Siegel, and this summer I've spent my time looking into the learning styles and preferences of Generation Y and how this affects instruction. Who is Generation Y exactly? Well, they're also known as millennials, digital natives, and the net generation, and they encompass a group of people that are born after around the 1980s. Just to let you know where this topic fits in with the disciplines, I mostly focused my efforts within education and psychology. Come on, let's go together now and take a look at differences between generations, characteristics of Generation Y, and instructional strategies that might be a better fit for this group of students. Come on now, don't be afraid to take the leap to new strategies.
Ready?
After my great acrobatic experience this summer, I began to see my research kind of take the shape of a trapeze setup. Here are the major topics that I found as I was doing my research, and I'll tell you a little bit about how they kind of fit together. On the left and on the right, you can see two platforms, and the left platform kind of talks about traditional school and kind of stereotypes about Generation Y, and on the right platform, you have actual characteristics of Generation Y and some of their weaknesses. But right now, the two platforms, you can't really reach each other. There's no way for those two to interact. Across the top, you can see that there are generational differences between traditional school and Generation Y, which is what is keeping those two apart, without having those trapezes to go back and forth where you can connect in the middle. On the bottom, you can see that there are current trends that kind of act as a net and kind of that kind of span both traditional school, how things have always been done, and kind of showing what is now beginning to happen with students. In the middle, you'll see two boxes, and these are really the most important, and they represent the trapezes. As you probably know, one trapeze can't reach both platforms at the same time. You really have to have both trapezes for this to be effective because you have to be able to connect in the middle. The first box represents new attitudes and learning a little bit about Generation Y and what you're going to need to do. And the second one represents teaching strategies that are really effective and that meet Generation Y's needs. Now that you have a big picture of how this all kind of fits together, let's take a look at each box a little bit more carefully. First, we can go over the generational differences that make this span sometimes seem so wide between different generations. The first thing you'll notice is that different generations have different perceptions and understandings of situations. They just come at problems and life differently. The second thing is that teens are adopting technology at a much faster pace than everybody else. They've had it their whole life, so it just comes much easier. The third thing is that teens believe that technology actually makes life easier, whereas a lot of us are just frustrated with our computer or our phone that we can try to program, or maybe our digital camera making it do what we want it to do. But teens actually think it makes life easier. The internet is also used differently by different generations. Teens, one predominant thing is that they use the internet a lot for gaming or for social networking, whereas a lot of adults that are older typically do not do that. They use the internet maybe more for information, for health information, for news, though that's changing as well. Also, keep in mind as I'm going through this that these are very broad generalizations as you're looking at a whole group, and you can certainly see differences when you look at individuals. The next thing we'll look at are Generation Y stereotypes. And this really kind of comes into play when in relationships, because if you already have negative assumptions about a group ahead of time, it's hard to really build a strong relationship. Sometimes people think of them as being self-absorbed, having a short attention span, lacking self-reflection, lacking the ability to have interpersonal skills, and they have a belief of entitlement. The second component here is how students view how school has always been done, kind of traditional school. Here are a few traps we might fall into as educators. The first thing is we might use technology just as window dressing, which is using, say, a digital projector just kind of as a blackboard. Or the second thing is we might just expect our students to regurgitate information and then spend a lot of time just testing them. The third thing is that we really rely a lot on lectures and worksheets oftentimes, which is not as very effective with Generation Y. And fourth thing is that student input often isn't requested when it comes to how are we designing our lessons and what are they going to actually enjoy doing. Also, students are just bored a lot of times. They feel like the material that they're getting isn't relevant to their lives, that it's not connecting to them and it's not engaging for them. So they're just kind of bored. Okay, so to be the best teacher you can be, it's important to have a real picture of what Generation Y really looks like. Let's look at research and see a few things that they say about Generation Y. Number one, they learn by doing. That's really important, that they are taking an active part in trying kind of with a hands-on teaching method. They're very altruistic and hopeful about the future. They're very technologically advanced. They're definitely addicted to visual media. They insist on interactivity. And this isn't just in technology. They are used to, like, their phones being able to personalize them and being able to personalize what their Google page looks like. But they're also wanting interactivity in the classroom. They don't really want to just sit there and listen to a lecture the whole time. They also don't accept the tried and true, which means that they're going to challenge policies and rules, and they want to know why that they are the way they are, and they want to see if there's a better way of doing things. Just like everybody else, they also have weaknesses, but here are two that are important. Number one, a lot of them have poor information literacy skills because they're not used to actually doing research on the internet. They're used to using it for social networking or for things for fun. The other thing is that there's a huge temptation with this group with copyright violations and with cheating with papers that are online, or just by cutting and pasting just because it's so easy.